Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Gooners Gone Wild podcast. I'm here with Doc and Ari. Unfortunately, Sammy cannot make it. He's feeling a little under the weather, so let's send our best wishes to Sammy as he is recovering. It is finished. Arsenal 1, Everton 0. And even though it was a lackluster scoreline, it was a pretty much dominant Arsenal match, in my opinion, throughout. Ari, I'm going to let you kick it off today. What are your opinions, and what did you see that worked to our advantage today that help us topple the Toffees for the first time since 2017?
I think we had a very convincing performance. Like I said, the midfield was probably one of the most important things that we needed to dominate. And, with Rice in there, with our $100 million signing, every time we lost the ball, he just immediately won it back, like almost every single time. So that's what we paid the money for, and that's what we're getting. So, I mean, him being in our midfield just allows us to maintain possession for longer periods of time, and then as soon as we lose it, we get it back, and we're back on the front foot. So I think the addition of Rice really cemented our ability to close this game out.
Yeah, for sure. Doc, you got anything to add to that?
No, same thing going along with Rice, but I think Ben White also needs to get a lot of credit too. It was the same thing. Just like Rice has been Mr. Consistent in the midfield, Ben White, Benny Blanco, he's been Mr. Consistent at right back. He's been like at 7.0 to like 7.7 player rating between those for all of the 5 first matches. So very, very consistent. And he's played both at center back and at right back along like those first 5 matches. Honestly, I'd prefer him at right back right now just because that allows us to play our best back line, in my opinion, that we have right now. Minus Timber, of course. RIP. At least for now.
He's not dead.
I know. But yeah, I was really happy with how I played. Obviously, wishing the victory would have been a lot easier, but we dominated. We had like 74% possession. And I saw like when those flow maps showing like momentum and everything like that throughout the game. It was like Arsenal the whole way across had a majority of momentum, and then Everton had like 2 little blips on it, one in the first half right at the end and like one in the middle of the second half. That's it.
Yeah.
What about you, VeeKay? What do you think?
Yeah, so unfortunately, this was the first match of the season that I had to miss, but I was able to catch the first 30 minutes of it, and then, of course, ran that back and watched the highlights. I must say, watching the NBC highlights was like watching an Odegaard and Rice compilation with a Trossard goal sprinkled in there. Like, it was just, you could really tell that Odegaard and Rice really dominated the match. I say, I'm obviously going to talk about Odegaard a little bit more because that is my favorite player currently. But Rice has been such a huge addition to this team. I think this is what we've been missing. I think either Doc or Ari or Sammy on a podcast many moons ago said that Rice is going to most likely be the Vieira that we've been missing since 2004. And the vision that Rice has throughout the whole pitch, constantly scanning, constantly attacking the ball when we lose it, constantly trying to make that forward play. As much as I love Granit Xhaka, it was funny because I was on Twitter the other day, and it was like a compilation of Granit Xhaka's skills, and the first clip was Xhaka playing a negative ball. And it was like, do I need to say any more? And I was like, that's a little bit harsh because he's done so much, but I get it. Because there was so much with Rice in, with Odegaard in. The negative ball has become very rare in Arteta ball nowadays. And I think that's so refreshing to seeing how, we've been playing negative balls for years, I feel like. Years. Even prior to Arteta. Yeah.
Switching back and forth, El Neni gets the ball. What does he do? He plays it across to our...
Hey, don't hate on Mohamed El Sideways. Don't hate on Mohamed El Sideways, okay? No, El Neni's a legend and a friend of the GGW pod.
Absolutely,
we love that out there. But no, Trossard bagging. I don't think any of us predicted that, but what a finish! What a finish, Doc. What are your opinions on that beautiful one-time finish from Trossard? It was insane.
We've all played soccer. football.
Football.
And we know exactly how hard of a finish that is. You're
Oh.
getting the ball drop back, 7 ball. You are opening up across your body, and you're playing it back post.
And there
You
was
can
a
either
slight skip to it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you are either hitting that to the keeper, skying it, or it's going out for a throw-in across the goal. And he buries that back post. Pickford didn't even
He
move.
was planted.
Like, there's no way he could have done anything about that. But what a finish. Like, we've been wanting him to get more game time. I know I've talked about it. I know a bunch of you guys have talked about it as well. And he's getting that game time. Unfortunately, it came at a cost. We lost Gabriel Martinelli to a minor hamstring injury. Potentially is going to be out only for like 2 to 3 weeks, I've seen, which is huge because hamstring injuries are pretty bad. But like, props to him coming on in the 24th minute and just
play
turning it on.
and
Yeah.
it was almost like we didn't miss Martinelli. Obviously we did, but Trossard slid into that role so
We have
easily.
depth.
I know it's chef's kiss. But Ari, how about you? What are your thoughts, Coach Ari? I should say. What are your thoughts?
Trossard, I just think he's so clinical in the box. Like anytime he gets in the box, he has a strike, and it's always a good one. Like he puts it on frame, or he'll. I mean, it's happened at least a couple of times this year where he's like hit the crossbar, but like he puts it on frame, and he's dangerous in the box. He's what we've been missing from that left wing and like even the striker role for a while. So I think his clinical ability to get into the box and put strikes on frame is very lethal, and it'll help us very much so this season.
Yeah, for sure.
I think he'll turn up in the Champions League as well. I think he'll be a big Champions League player as well for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was so well deserved, and I think there was nobody on that pitch other than maybe Nketiah that deserved a goal more than Trossard, because I mean he just recently came out in an interview, I believe, a day or two before the game, saying how he knew that the reason why he left Brighton was because of lack of playing time, but he knew that the reason why he came to Arsenal was to fight for his spot and to play in those minutes that are so crucial, which says a lot about his character as a person, because to leave a team where you're not getting playing time to go to another team where you're probably also not going to get a lot of playing time, but you know that you are in a crucial role into that system, I think, again, is a huge sentiment to not only just Arsenal but Trossard's love for the club. And the passion in that celebration was so heartwarming to see, because how many times have
him, Odegaard, Saka, they're all so happy.
The crowd, I thought we were playing at the Emirates, which is something I'm actually going to segue into, but like the crowd pop was insane. The double knee slide to popping up and let's go from Trossard, like
I wanted to see one of these.
I wanted to see that. Yes, of course,
binoculars.
Of course, but that just goes to show like how far we've come as a club under Arteta, because how many times has a bench player come on and scored and not really, there was always like a subdued celebration because they knew that they were not going to start the next game, right? Arteta has instilled in the club that doesn't matter if you're not going to start, you're still going to play an important role to this team. And Trossard's been proving that week in and week out. And I think he's been a really strong player this season, even though I may have called him a secret agent last season. I'm sorry. But to move on, let's talk about Everton here for a minute. They're in crisis mode, I feel. And I think they're
in crisis mode the past 3 years.
Right. But I think they're in further more of a crisis mode because now they don't have the supporters. We saw last season when they were in crisis mode, the supporters rallied together, and it was Goodison was a hard place to go to.
Yeah.
The crowd was flat. The stadium sounded empty. Like I said, I thought we were playing at the Emirates. I heard more Arsenal fans than I did Everton fans. So what are your guys' opinions on that?
I completely agree with that. The announcers, even during the match when they weren't being biased against Arsenal, were saying
was it Lee Dixon?
It's actually a great question.
Because I feel like Lee Dixon is the most biased against Arsenal, former Arsenal player we've ever had.
Yeah, like there was a decent amount of bias. Like we can talk about that later, but I don't want to eat it up complaining about refs or complaining about commentators. No, it was like the announcers were saying how flat it was, like just the atmosphere, like in Goodison Park, and all you could hear were Arsenal fans
Yeah.
chanting. Like we had our small section, and they were louder than the whole rest of the stadium, which has honestly been a trend that we've seen over the past 2 seasons, in my opinion. This season, last season, even the end of the season before that, where we would go to away matches and be the loudest fan section in the whole entire stadium.
Yeah.
So props to Arsenal supporters.
Yeah, which again is something that I think has changed a lot under Mikel. I remember agreeing with some of the commentators from back in the 2018 era from when this jersey that I'm wearing is from, but just calling the Emirates the library. I couldn't agree more. I think I've even made a few tweets saying that I'm jealous that they get to go and not make noise. If I was there, I'd be screaming my lungs out, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But Ari, how do you feel? How are you feeling about our fan supporters and the lack thereof of Everton supporters this Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, like you guys have touched on, Mikel has just completely transformed this club. You know, it's a shell of what it, or like it's what it was years ago is a shell of what it is now. Like, I mean, the complete and utter transformation from fans to the mentality of the players is just, it's really from 0 to 100. That's the best way I could put it. The fans are behind the players every single game, and you can hear it. You can hear it through the speakers and through, you know, through the commentators' boxes. Like, you just hear Arsenal chants. You hear doot Saliba. Like, every game, like every game,
best chant.
So like, props to Mikel. He's done a phenomenal job turning this club around, and I don't think we'd be anywhere near where we are without him. So
No, yeah. For sure. Let's talk about a controversial replacement in the squad. David Raya getting their first start. I believe, was it me and Sammy that called it, or was it
you definitely called it, because you were saying that I thought Ramsdale was going to be in. Ari thought Ramsdale. I'm pretty sure Sammy said Ramsdale as well. I think you were the only one that said Raya would be in goal, because you thought that Ramsdale would then be the keeper for
the Champions League.
Upcoming Champions League match.
Yeah. What can I say? VeeKay knows ball. No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. I'm
He knows
I'm
ball?
not gonna lie. I only said that.
He knows ball.
I know about. No, kidding. But no. And then Nketiah also getting the nod over Jesus, which is huge, because Jesus has been confirmed to be 100% healthy. So you can see that Arteta has completely put his faith in Nketiah, which I believe Ari said. Was it Ari? Because I know Gabe said Jesus, right? I know you.
I definitely said
you're
Jesus,
rocking with Gabby, and I think Sammy also said Eddie as well. But
and Vieira.
And Vieira coming in, which is something we touched about. We said that we didn't think he was going to come in, but he ended up coming in anyway.
Physicality.
Yeah,
he played great.
He played great, minus his clinicality in the final third. I think that could be.
He might have kept Trossard from scoring like another 1 or 2 goals because of some of those.
I love that.
I almost called the Martinelli goal.
You did, correct.
But it got called offside.
Okay,
correct.
So can we touch on that? There was a clear deflection that carried that ball, because it honestly looks like Gabriel is trying to play it to either Rice or one of the midfielders, and that deflection takes it straight up the field to Nketiah.
I think what had happened, and Ari, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I did some research because I had an incident in the league that I coach. My kids had something very similar happen. It has to be the start of a new play. So because he was coming off on the offsides position, and it was the same play in which he was coming on coming onsides from the offsides position, and Gabriel making that pass, it would still technically be offsides.
Yeah, because it wasn't the other player was like playing the ball. It just was a deflection.
So if the what would be different about it is if he was coming from the offsides, he was passed to someone and someone else took a touch, and then another pass was made that was deflected. That would have been different because it was a different passage of play. That is what I can see being called back. However, we all know the refs are super inconsistent. not just in the Prem, but all over the world. But I'm not going to say anything. And I think that could be the explanation. Ari, what are your thoughts on that offsides call?
I think I read that it is more determined based on the intention of the player. So
Okay.
so I read that if it's like an intentional pass back from a defender, then that's where it would have been fine. But because there was no intention from the Everton player, and the deflection just came straight off him and went to Nketiah, that it would be offsides. I mean, it's all subjective, you know.
Yeah.
Like it all comes down to the ref's decision and what they feel is correct. So,
and to be fair, we're not delusional Manchester United fans that are going to say
No.
that the line was drawn incorrectly. It was offsides, so I'm not complaining.
It was
about
genuinely
it.
offsides. I just thought of like how significant the deflection was,
Right.
and how the pass wasn't even planning on going to
him.
Nketiah.
Yeah.
It literally deflected and just came across the field, went straight to him. So.
Yeah.
But going back to like Raya and Ramsdale, what'd you guys think of Raya's performance?
Got Ari.
VeeKay.
Oh. He was very calm on the ball. I think he distributed really well in the whole game. So, I mean.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I think the distribution. Now, I will say, I think I would like to see Raya tested a little bit more. He really didn't have much to do, much distribution to be distributing. That's a great sentence that the English language has. But I think the small amount of times we did see the distribution come out of, it was solid. I think what I was seeing in our group chat, we were talking about it a little bit with Sammy. Sammy was saying that that Ramsdale's the better shot stopper. I'm actually going to disagree, and I think that Raya is actually the better shot stopper. And Ramsdale is the better distributor. We just saw a little bit of shakiness from Ramsdale at this moment of time. I think they are two very different keepers, but two very strong keepers. And we mentioned this 3 weeks ago, where we were seeing those training vids of Raya. Like, we saw Ramsdale palming them away, and then you saw Raya catching, holding, hitting the ground, and still holding the ball. Like, I think that's something that Ramsdale needs to step his game up on a little bit. I think it was a great showing. There was 1 or 2 big saves that he had to make, and then I think 2 or 3 more like very small saves that was kind of loose. But I think he did a very good job. And I will say, going back to Nketiah, he didn't get a goal, but he did also play a very good game. I think he was a little bit unlucky to come off in the 60th, but I think just putting in the fresh legs is something that we need to see earlier from Arteta, and I think that's what his thought process was. So I'm not too worried about it. I still think Eddie gets the nod in the top in the NLD, to be honest. So
I can see that as well.
But that's a different video coming soon to the GGW channel. So with that being said, I think we're going to wrap it up. The next match is going to be against PSV in the Champions League home at the Emirates Stadium. So be on the lookout for our pre-match analysis. We are back, baby.
We're back, baby.
And we will see you guys all in the next podcast. And until then, as always, come on, you Gooners.
Come on, you Gunners, baby.
Woo!
See ya.